Hey everyone, welcome back to Ninetail Hobbies. I have made a skirmish game. This is a quick, simple, dirty, one-page rule system that I came up with, and it's played on a 16 by 16-ish board. It's a 28mm game that is inspired by Yellow Cube and Turnip 28, and just like the ink 28 community in general has been a big inspiration for this. Pretty much the premise is the world has been infected with Geometridosis, so everything organic is turning into geometric shapes. And to follow that, we've got all these different geometric heads that I've designed, and these are to denote the different units in the game, and they're all based on polyhedral dice. So you've got 1d10, 2d8s, 3d6s, 4d4s, and then you've got a d20, the Icosagon, which is usually an NPC or a token or something like that to get. These were made so you could replace the heads of your existing minis, the genre of the game, but you can play with any minis. You can even use polyhedral dice on bases if you want to. Everything is based on a inch system, and I'm gonna kind of go through and show you the aesthetics of the game, and I will be releasing a battle report that will go over the rules in depth, but I'm just gonna kind of glaze over them right now. The general idea of the game is that each unit type, so if you have a D4 group, they are only going to roll 1d4. They're going to move 4 inches plus however many minis are in the unit at the time, and that's also going to be their attack dice. So you would roll a d4 and add however many minis are in the unit. That's it. And then you would subtract your defense is equal to half your value. So a d4 is a d2. So they would be have a defense of 2 whenever you attack them. Very simple, very straightforward. You got a couple of plus and minuses for like cover or taking a defense action or anything. So all of these minis were resin, cut off the heads, drilled some holes, cause the heads, which are going to be available along with the rules down in the description, have ball sockets on them, and there is no particular genre for this game. You can do fantasy, sci-fi, superhero, modern, whatever you want to do. The minis that I am using, one are from Golden Dragon, and the other ones are from One Page Rules. And then for terrain, you can use anything that you want, but the idea of the game is that the entire world, whatever world it's taking place in, is infected with Geometridosis, which everything is starting to take on a geometric pattern. So all the organic materials and everything are starting to have straight lines and vertex and all these different things. So this is just some floor tile, some EVA foam that has all been cut into straight lines. I just used the floor tile stickiness. The trees are 3D FDM printed supports with XPS foam on top. And then these are Jenga pieces and dollar store cubes that have just been cut. To show you how I made the trees, I just take a piece of foam, cut it down, cut it into straight lines. And I know not everybody is going to have access to FDM tree supports, so you could use wire trees or whatever. I just like the feel of these. And I just take the main piece, the offcuts, anything like that. I found hot glue works best. And I don't just put it on, but I press it into the top of the tree supports, and that seems to hold it really, really well. And then I just build it out like a normal one, and this is kind of has a feel of like an old school low poly video game, but it also kind of shows the transformation from organic shapes to inorganic shapes. And then for some scatter terrain, I just took those Jenga blocks and other wood pieces and glued them together for a little bit of scatter terrain. Maybe they're bushes. You know, it doesn't matter exactly what these things are. It's just that they're transformed into something odd and interesting. So make whatever structures you want. There's no... Make multi-level. Make... The crazier it is, the better. Made some texture paste. I use large sand, small sand, cork, dirt from the floor, shout out Hive Scum, dried out coffee grounds, brown paint. This is just in case it ever chips or anything, it's still going to have some color to it. And then some PVA glue. This was a bit chunkier than I intended, but it ended up coming out okay. So I used it for all of the terrain to give a cohesiveness. And that's the general vibe of the game. If you want to stick around for the rest of the video, I'm going to be going over the basic rule set and everything, and then releasing a battle report afterwards. If you stick around, great. If not, you feel like I appeased the small gods of the algorithm, do the YouTube thing, and I'll catch you on the next one. So here is the basic premise for the game. Each unit is governed by the type that they are. So this is a D6, or a 6 unit. So they are only going to roll a D6, and all of their stats are going to be based off of a 6. This unit is a D4, or 4, so they are only going to roll a D4, and all of their stat blocks are based off of 4. For example, if these wanted to shoot into here, they would have a 6-inch range, because they are a 6, so they would be able to hit. Whereas these only have a 4-inch range, so they would not be able to hit with a ranged attack. However, when you're talking about rolling dice or moving, you would add the number of minis that are in here. So this would be 4, because it's a 4 unit, so they would move 4 inches, and they have 4 minis in the unit, so they would be able to move a total of 8 inches. So they would be able to make it in on those 6s. Conversely, if they only had 2 units, they would have 4 plus 2, so they would only be able to move 6, which would still be able to move them in, but their movement is reduced because of the lack of minis. Same thing would happen on an attack. The 6s want to attack the 4s. They're within range, so they would roll a d6, and they would add the number of minis that they have. So they would add 3, so any result that they roll on a 6-sided die, they would add 3 to. So they got a 6 plus 3, which would be 9, and the difficulty to hit is whatever the unit type is, so these are 4s, divided by 2. So 2 is their difficulty on base. This is without modifiers or anything. So they got a 9, they would subtract 2, and that's how many health points they would do. So they would do 7 points of damage, which would automatically kill one of these because their health, each mini's health, is equal to the type that they are. So each of these single minis in a D4 has 4 health. So if they're doing 7 damage, this one would be gone because of 4, and then they would have 3 damage left over. So a dice, a token, whatever, to let you know that one of these has taken 3 damage. So now whenever they go, they're going to be 1 less on their unit. Easy peasy. Let's take this back. So let's change this up a little bit. Say this unit is in cover. They're behind here. If a majority of these are covered up, then they have cover. They get a +1 to their defense. Easy. Can you see most of them? Yes. Can you not? No. If there is a disagreement, then at the beginning of the game, when whoever rolls evens or odds, let's say these are evens when you begin the game, we'll say we're going to roll a die. It doesn't matter which one it is, and whatever comes up, evens or odds, these will be that type. So they're going to be odds, and they're going to be evens. If there is a disagreement in the rules, or if someone can't agree on what's going on, roll a die, and then if it's odds, it'll rule in this team's favor. If it's evens, it'll rule in this team. So we're saying that they're going to argue that they can they are not in cover, but they are in cover, is their argument. So evens, so we would go with them. That's just to settle disagreements. Other actions. So you can move, you can ranged attack, you can take a defense action, just some type of token or anything. These are from Star Wars. This will also give you a +1 defense. So if they're in cover and they have this, they're going to have a +2 to their defense. So it'll be a base of 2 because they're a 4 unit, +1 for cover, +1 for the dodge token. So 4 total. So if they're attacking, they're going to be adding 3. So rolling a d6 +3, and it's going to be difficulty 4. So this one would only cause 1 damage because 2 + 3 is 5, difficulty 4, so 1 damage, and they keep their defense until their next activation. So when it's their turn to go, they would lose this. Say they want to attack there. We're going to do this real quick. They run in to melee and just kind of wrap it around. And cohesion, you know, as long as it's not way out here or out somewhere ridiculous, like just keep them close. It doesn't have to be the whole group. So they roll in, they would keep their wound, and they want to do damage to them. So they're rolling a d4 +4, and since these are 6s, they're going to be difficulty 3. They don't have dodge, they don't have cover. This is melee. So they roll a 3 +4. Well, the difficulty was 3, so they would do 4 damage, which isn't enough to kill either of the minis or any of the minis in the unit. But what they can do, since they're in melee, and this is optional, you can push a unit back that you attacked in melee equal to the damage that you did. So they can go up to 4 inches, and it's however you're arranged to attack, like as long as it's not pushing them like in a weird direction. So just use, you know, common sense. So we're going to say that these get pushed back 4 inches. And while this might not be great on a one-on-one thing, if you've got a whole team, it can open up shots and make for some interesting situations. Haven't covered is genuflect. Genuflect is when you beseech the Icosagon, the great 20-sided god of Polyhead, to help you strike down your lessers. So we're going to say it's the d6, the 6s go, and they're going into the 4s. Well, for one of their actions, they are going to roll their die, and if they come up with a 6, the highest number on their die type, if the next attack is successful against the unit that has been afflicted by the genuflect, will take double damage. So we'll roll. It's a 5. That would just be one of their actions gone. But say we rolled a 6, and then somehow you would mark this to no, and say they get to attack. So again, it's going to be a d6 +3, or difficulty 2. So 5 +3 is 8. So 8 - 2 is 6. But since they were afflicted by the genuflect, instead of 6 damage, it would be 12 damage. And that's only if it's successful. Say they rolled a 1. That's a critical fail. No matter what bonuses you get, a 1 is always a failure. So that would cause the genuflect to go away, and they would not take any damage. In terrain, if it looks difficult to move up, down, through, whatever, then just half your movement speed. So if these guys wanted to go through here, you would half their movement speed, so half of 9, round up, which is 5. So they wouldn't be able to close, they would be, you know, kind of in the middle of all this, so you would just put them wherever you could at 5 inches. So those are the base rules for the game.